What is up, everybody? CP and SJ with you. Another week of picks here on Every Day We're Covering. It is championship week. It's down to the brass tacks, as they say. We got to get the all sorted out and figured out who's going to be in this 12-team college football playoff. And we should have a lot of fun football to watch here this weekend. Hopefully, there will be some good games, and hopefully, we can deliver some good picks here for you as well, SJ. Exciting time.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of level-headed responses as well to these, the committee. And the crazy thing was the fact that just coming out and saying, "Oh, these things are already set." Is like, I mean, we still got games to play. Like that to me, that was a little ridiculous. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, I get that they're done, but everybody's not, and that should, you should still be able to move up and down. But whatever it is, what it is, got to do the best we can. 12's better than 2 or 4, and then so let's just keep moving forward that way, I guess.
Yeah, and well, obviously we've had our own share of beef with how the whole like ranking and playoff thing show goes every week, anyways. But seemed ridiculous to me too. Here, all the teams shouldn't we have had like names with slashes up there in this last show, because everybody's that in a championship game obviously has a chance to get into the
Mhm.
playoff. They didn't do that. They just went by the straight rankings currently, which I get, but it also confuses fans. Like I had people ask me like, "Oh, does that mean that Iowa State can't even get in?" Like,
That's
no,
what it
that's
looks
just what
like.
they're
I
doing.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I don't understand it, and we never will. But yeah, that's why I don't watch it. So uh, let's get into the picks. So here we're going to start down the list. There are a few that we're going to save here for the very end. So if you think that we've skipped something in order here, you'll understand why at the end, because we got three that we kind of focused on a little bit differently here at the end of the show. But we're going to start off with the one that starts it all on Friday. Conference USA Championship, Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State, 6 o'clock kickoff on Friday night. SJ, what are you looking at for a pick here in this game?
yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, what they played, like,
Last week.
yeah, a couple of days, not even, yeah, like less than a week ago. As of recording this, of course, it'll
Mhm.
be a week. So that was I mean, obviously, you got plenty of info to go off from there. And to me, like, I mean, both teams coming in at 8-4, solid seasons, especially in that conference. So, I mean, be honest here, we don't watch a lot of Conference USA. If we're gonna get a lower conference, it's the MAC. We're just gonna put it out there. Everybody, if you listen, you follow along. If you don't know it's the MAC, then I don't know where you've been. But so and, with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and look at that number. Just because I don't in 1917 last week, I understand. Sometimes, oh, maybe the weather, maybe it's a big turnover game. Each team only had one turnover, so I don't think that was a factor in that low scoring affair. So I'm going to take the under 58. I just don't think in 1 week's time that you're going to, improve your offense that much, especially against a like opponent that already knows you and just saw you 7 days ago. So I'm going to go ahead and think it's going to be another low scoring affair. And we'll go ahead and just go with that total, because either team in all these conference championships, I'll just say it now. It's I can honestly see either team winning in pretty much every conference game except for maybe a couple.
I'm with you there. I love that thought process and that pick. I would agree with you on that. I'll make another pick just for the fun of it, so we have a couple things going here. If I was going to look at a winner, I thought about this as I was checking this game out, and interesting, that they just played. Western Kentucky did win the game, by the way. 1917 was the game a week ago, so it was real close. But I don't know what somebody thinks they know, but
Mm,
Western Kentucky, for some reason, is getting 4.5 points, and I'm going to take it. Why
yeah.
wouldn't? Why would I take the team that just won? And I think has played better overall. If you look at the schedule and some of the common opponents, I think Western Kentucky's been a little bit more impressive overall in the season. So I'm going to take the old Hilltoppers to get it done and cover and getting 4.5. So why not? I'm getting some points and the team that just beat the other one. I kind of like going that way. So we'll move on to the AAC, whatever this conference is now. I don't know. I think there's like 20 new teams in it this
Mm.
year, but and it features a team, oddly enough, that was in Conference USA recently. Tulane. They are taking on Army. And of course, Army, the early darling of the season with the way it started. But this is a 7 o'clock game on Friday night. Should be, well, we hope, an interesting contest to watch. I guess I'll start it off on this one. I actually don't think this might end up being
Mm.
that close at the end of the day. I'm going to go Tulane. I think they're the better team. Army's just so not dynamic. That's their problem. Like, they do one thing, they do it really well most of the time. But when a team knows that it's coming and has thoughts on game planning for something, and especially when it's a talented team against them, and Tulane, I think, has proven that they are, fairly talented. They've been in some good games this year against decent teams. So I think Tulane's got the offensive firepower that's going to make it hard for a team like Army to keep up. Obviously, when they get down, it's not easy for them to catch up. And I think Tulane's going to have the upper hand here. So I'm going to take Tulane laying the 4.5.
I have to be boring on this one, just go right with you, because I can't get that. I mean, I know Notre Dame is obviously a probably playoff team most likely, but I just can't get that those visions of Army just like doing literally nothing uh, against Notre Dame, just getting freaking just mowed down. So that's like it is. It's just like if you can stop that, it's like there's no plan B, plan C, plan D. There's nothing like. It's that, and I just think they may. I don't necessarily think Army's going to totally get like shut down, and they might be limited a little bit. Do a little bit more, maybe at 14, 21 points. But Tulane's way more weapons, showing it week after week that they can put some points up. So it'd be a bit of a track meet. I just don't think in the end Army's going to be able to keep up with that. And I think it's going to be more than a 1-score game, probably 10 to 14 point victory. So I'm obviously taking the points on that one for Tulane.
Yeah, and again, and one of those games too, where you might see what kind of how far you got to bump it up to get yourself some good plus money, because I think it's probably is a 2-score type of win at least here for Tulane. Next one we're going to move to now is we're going to go to the early game on Saturday. That is the Big 12 championship. Iowa State and Arizona State. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, not the teams that most people probably would have predicted were going to be in this game, especially not Arizona State, who right now is the higher ranked team. They were picked dead last, I believe, in the conference in the early media polls start the year. So that tells you something.
Yeah, it shows how much those preseason polls matter, right? Like, it's probably why the Big Ten refuses to do one, because they just know they're going to be so wrong year after year.
Yeah. Very, very wrong this year in that conference. I mean, it pretty much flipped. I think the 3 favorites were the ones that finished the bottom 3 teams in the league this year. So really, really wild. But oddly enough, we talked about this on the podcast. First 11 o'clock game of the season that Iowa State's going to play. It's all been at night or afternoon, and it's going to be an early one for Arizona State because of moving over time zone there to Arlington to play at AT&T Stadium. I hope the roof holds together first and foremost, and don't injure anybody out there. But you know where I'm going with this. I'm rolling with my clones. I think that they have been playing well enough here down the stretch, and I was really impressed with the win last week against Kansas State. Not because I think Kansas State is a world beater type of team, but just the way that Iowa State won the game. Didn't necessarily play their absolute best, but it was like one of those team games where, special teams made a play, then the offense made a play, then the defense made a play. It was that mashup that I think you need to have everybody kind of in synergy at the end of the year to play good football. Now, I think Arizona State's hot too. They're a good team. They're playing very well. I was very impressed with how they beat up on their rival there in Arizona the last week of the season. But I also have looked, if you look at their schedule, they played a lot of close games. I mean, it's been 2-3-point games almost all season long there for the Sun Devils. I think Iowa State's got enough in the passing game here. You get Knoll and Higgins going on the outside a little bit here in this one. I don't think that Arizona State's played the likes of a receiving core that's good. Obviously, they played a good receiver last week there in Totora, but I think this is a different beast for them. So I'm going to go with the team that's had maybe a little bit more recent experience in these moments in Iowa State to go ahead and get the win. And they're getting a couple of points, so that helps me out too.
Yeah, this is another one of those. It's like, man, I could see it playing out many different ways with either team winning. So I'm gonna have to bump over to that total. I don't feel confident because both teams playing as well as a lot of other teams in the country. So how do you rationalize that at least to be confident in it? So I think 49.5 is where I got it at. I'm gonna go the overs. I think this will be a shootout. It may be kind of that case of where. What was with Texas Tech game or even Arizona State against BYU, that type of game where it's who has the ball last. It sounds like one of those boring old things to say, but it really does feel like that, especially being an indoor game. You don't have to worry about anything slowing these teams down. They definitely both have plenty of weapons to light up that scoreboard. So yeah, as long as the roof stays intact, I see a big a 38-35 type game, something like that, and it should be a real good game, especially to start the day like that. You can get going here and have a hell of a day of football. That'd be a nice way to kick it off there.
Yeah. Yeah. Iowa State's going to enjoy the feel, I'm sure, because last week, playing in about feels like 10 degrees or so outside. So yeah, this will be nice no matter what it is. They're down there in Jerry World. All right, so that's starting the day on Saturday. Next one we'll move to then on Saturday is also actually an 11 a.m. kick, so this will be going on simultaneously. The MAC championship, of course, our other darling favorite. We got Ohio and Miami of Ohio playing it out. We do know that there are a million teams from Ohio and Michigan in that conference, but yeah, interesting. 11 a.m. kick. Yeah, 2 is what I'm seeing here for Miami of Ohio right now, giving away. So what are we thinking here, SJ?
I like that actually. And in recent, I know Ohio has been kind of I don't know, what do you want to call it, the king of that hill there in the MAC just recently. I mean, could kind of set your watch by them and taking care of business, but I don't know, something about just, I know they've had a little bit of change there in leadership and just that type of thing. So I think Miami's they haven't lost since what are we looking like, October? Yeah, early October, October 5th. Excuse me, against Toledo was their last loss, and we know that that was an aberration. So that ain't happened again to the Red Hawks. So and actually, I mean, again, this was earlier in the season too, over a month ago, but they did in their first meeting took down Ohio 30-20. I'm not saying that factors in at all, but just the run they've been on. You don't win 6 or 7 in a row here in the MAC, and say that's a cakewalk. So I'm gonna go ahead and lean the Red Hawks. But either way, I think when you're looking at that type of number like that, that's just obviously a straight up pick 'em. There's it's kind of a coin flip, but that's what you want to see in a conference championship. You don't want to see a 10-point spread. They're then doing things right if that's the case. So I'll lean Miami of Ohio, but I think it's the same thing. I could see either team winning. I just think maybe this is their year to kind of unseat the recent king.
Yeah, I do think this will be a really fun game at Ford Field. I don't know. I kind of went back and forth on who I thought was going to win this thing, but because of that, I'm going to move to the total on this one. I think this goes over. It's only at 44.5, which seems pretty low. Obviously, the last time they played it gets to a 50 spot. So I think the offense will probably win the day here for both of these two teams, and that's not asking too much. And when you get the action rolling to get over a 44.5, so yeah, I'm gonna go over here in that one.
It's nice to have these awesome, NFL stadiums, that these indoor games. But that's one I do wish was the weather was involved, because how many games Tuesday nights do we see it just friggin' downpouring or friggin' blizzard playing? This is one that I wish was outside, but I don't blame them. You got a beautiful stadium there. Why not take advantage?
Yeah. This is kind of my other darling small conference that we're going to go to here next, because everything's better in the Fun Belt sometimes. I mean, there's been some good teams out of this league here recently. Obviously, they've lost a few too because of the way alignment's shaken up, but we're going to go Sun Belt, and this one is going to be a 6:30 p.m. kickoff, so one of the ones you can get on your multi-screen in the evening. Louisiana, the old Raging Cajuns, are hosting Marshall for this contest, and this will be played in Lafayette there at Cajun Field. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Raging Cajuns. I got it at 5.5 that they're laying here through my particular book. I just think they've been the better team consistently throughout the season here. Obviously, the record one game better. That's the kind of splitting hairs there. But I do feel like Louisiana's, played some tough teams. They've been in, kind of some big spots within the last, decade or so. Even though they've had transition head coach wise and whatever, they've still stayed pretty consistent and been a good team and won some of those big games. They've only had one real kind of stumble, I think, throughout the season as far as the game you expected them to win that they didn't. So I'm going to go with Louisiana to lay the 5.5. Where are you going with this?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Other than the fact that I'm not even that confident, I feel it's gonna be a really close game. The home field advantage was kind of the over the top there, and I'm going straight money line. I'm not even worried about value on this, and I need to, this might be just a pick to get it right because don't say just same with that, Comment USA. Don't spend. I mean, I know the games are crazy, but I just don't spend a lot of time there because they're so crazy. You can't pin it week to week. It's you got the top team losing to the bottom team and vice, then seventh team beating the third team, whatever, it goes like crazy. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take straight up money line on that one. There's no value there unless you want to throw this in a parlay or something. I really wouldn't mess with just a straight up bet on this one, but I do think they'll get it done. I think the Cajuns are a little more seasoned in this game, so I think they'll go ahead and take that one.
Yeah, we love that Cajun seasoning. Yeah. Get that boil going. All right, we're going to go to the ACC, everybody's long lost, not loved conference. This will be in the night window as well. 7 o'clock is the kickoff, so this will start the same exact time as that Big Ten game. This is being played in Charlotte. As it has, I think, here for most of my recent memory. This is on ABC in the evening window. And what am I seeing here? I'm seeing SMU laying 2 here in this contest. SJ, what are we thinking?
Yeah, I mean, just talking about where it lands, I was just kind of a little surprised to see this as the night. I mean, you got the another game at the same time, but just a little surprising where I thought maybe that'd be an earlier in the day affair. But at least the games in the Atlantic coastal region because most of the teams aren't anymore. But I'm gonna go. This is try to keep a level head here because we've talked about our feelings for the head man there at Clemson, but this didn't factor in at all. I do think SMU is just a better team. I'm honestly surprised that Clemson got to 9 wins this year. I thought they were going to really struggle, and they found something and went on a run. But I do think they've maybe kind of run out of that whatever mojo they had cooking there. Especially, I mean, we talk about you take a hard loss like they did last week, it carries over a little bit, somewhat. No matter how much you try not to, that's a hell of an emotional, kind of let down there. And then of course with an in-state rival on top of that, Scott. And I know SMU kind of came in with they're puffing their chest out a little bit. There's quite a bit of talk from their side, but I mean, for the most part, they have backed them up. So I guess credit to them for that. I don't know if this is a sustained thing or something we'll be talking about, next year, even the year beyond that. But this year, this team, they've put up a lot of points and made a lot of teams that we thought were pretty good, the likes of a Pitt or, someone to that effect, just blew them out. It wasn't even a close game. So I think that I don't know if they'll get to that extent, but I do think they'll win this fairly comfortably. I'll take the 2 points. But I would expect at least could be a double-digit win here in this game.
Yeah, I when I was thinking about winner here, I was leaning that direction for sure. And I think you're probably right. I mean, if it's going to go one way heavily, it'll be in SMU's favor, I think is how this happens. But my only kind of hesitation with this is SMU ready, so to speak, for the moment. Haven't been in this type of game, before. Obviously, yeah, a lot of bravado coming into the new conference, and they talked a big game for a long time, thinking that they belonged in one of these places. And I think most of us are of the opinion that money is the reason why they're in it. But they have played well. You're right. In some of those, especially like that Pitt game that you mentioned, that was one that really stood out to me. But because I have that hesitation, are they going to maybe stumble a little bit in the moment? Is Clemson, obviously Clemson's been there, they won national championships. They're not going to hesitate from playing this game. So that's the thing that makes me wonder if SMU will trip a little. So I'm going to stay away from a winner. I'm going to go to the total here, and I'm going to go over. I think again, this is another one where offenses win the day. SMU, like you said, has put up points. Clemson, for the most part, has put up points. When they played really tough teams, they haven't. But I think this is one where they can get, hit a few here and there because SMU is not necessarily going to be the defensive juggernaut that they played with some other teams. So I'll go that over, even though it's a fairly big number, 55.5. But still, I think they get there. This will be kind of one of those more shootout type of deals, I think. And if it goes heavy, SMU might score a lot and help it get there. So that's how I feel about it.
Well, I mean, this would be the time too. I mean, if you guess on paper, there's no way. You see Clemson, SMU. It's like, dude, I'm taking Clemson. Just initial thought based on recent
Yeah.
history and everything. So you would be getting some value here. So if someone wants a underdog, I don't know how much of an underdog they are. On paper, and what you would think just by name, but there's a chance for somebody that maybe wants to take a shot and get some more, a little more bang for their buck.
All right, moving into our last segment of 3 games here, and we've got ourselves a good old fashioned guest picker. We're gonna
With
mock
the mini Lee Corso, yeah.
Mini Lee Corso. He's looking much more limber and able here this time around, if that's Corso. So, if you want to introduce our fine guest there, SJ, please.
All right. Well, we have Salvatore here. He's the football expert of the 6th grade there at St. Andrews. So hopefully we'll see what he knows here on his picks. He thinks he's got a good shot here. So hey, everybody thinks they know more than us all the time. So here's his chance to prove that. So why don't you go ahead and tell us the games we're picking this week, CP?
All right, yeah. So for this segment, we're going to move into those last 3 championship games we haven't done here yet, and we're going to start with the Mountain West Conference. And I know we've talked on the pod that this is one of the games that we're actually looking like the most forward to here this upcoming weekend, as far as championship weekend is concerned, because it should be a great game, and it obviously going to feature one of the best players in college football, in Ashton Jeanty. And we've got Boise State, UNLV, little rematch. Boise got the better of them the first time around, but this will be another, I'm sure, slobber knocker of a ball game. I guess I'll go ahead and just start it here on this one, and then we'll throw it to SJ, and then our guest will have a chance to try to prove us wrong here. But I'm going to go with the Broncos. I'm taking the 4.5 that they're laying. I think they win this again. I do think it'll be a close, fun game, but I just think there's probably that late score that gets them over the hump here. Obviously, I think a lot of fans would like it if this was more within the field goal total, but I'm still confident here that Mr. Jeanty's going to do his part and get Boise State the win. SJ, what do you think?
Yeah, the last time these two teams played, it actually kind of went off the script. Not as high scoring back and forth. The total got close. But it wasn't, towards the end, like you said, kind of maybe some, I don't know, garbage points, but just there, it wasn't anything where it's like back and forth type of deal. I think Boise is going to take it. Honestly, I have a feeling, I hope I'm wrong, but I think it may not be too close. I'll take them to cover the 4 points. Could see a 10 to 14 point win on one side. I'm hoping, like I said, it's a competitive game to the end. But I do think Boise is just too good for UNLV. I think if they wanted to get him last year was their chance, and they just weren't able to do it. So I do think we're going to go with Boise in the 4 points on that one. And I'll let Sal give his take on this one here.
Yeah, I think Boise State's going to win this one. Ashton Jeanty and their offensive line is just too good for them. And I think even if they can't stop the line, I think Maddox Madsen will got the talent to break ahead.
All right. I like it. We're all in agreement.
Yeah. He's got to a good start.
Yeah. I'm with you. It'll be interesting. This is a game that, a lot of people have eyes on, and obviously to see how it ends. And then obviously if Boise is a victor, we know that they're into the college football playoff, and then where do they get seated will be the next question as well. There's still some jockeying to be done then, but as of right now, they're one of the bye teams according to the rankings. So could get very interesting for the Broncos.
Well, and that's also my thought with the total there. It's like they need those. You got to get that. You got to make it look good, especially with the SEC teams creeping around there. So you definitely got to get those big wins when you can.
Speaking of creeping around, we'll go to the SEC here, and there's a new team creeping around the conference, and that is the Texas Longhorns, and they are obviously taking on the big power there in the Georgia Bulldogs here for this one. Georgia, by the hair of their chinny chin chin, is in this game, surviving a billion overtimes against Georgia Tech. This will be an interesting game. I guess I'm of opinion that there's a little extra motivation. I don't know if you saw the news today, but Bevo's not being allowed in the building. They're banning Bevo at Mercedes-Benz Stadium there in Atlanta. So I think that's gonna hook the horns in the wrong way, and they're gonna come out mad, and they're gonna win this game. I'm gonna take Texas to win it. Laying 2.5. Georgia just has not been consistent enough here late in the season. Texas, of any team in that conference, has probably been the most consistent. So that's where I'm going to go with this. I think Texas comes in and unfortunately kind of proves that they can go win somewhere else and win anywhere, and they're going to win this conference. What do you think, SJ?
Yeah, I give them credit for those mind games though, because that's like the type of crap Texas used to pull all the time in the Big 12. Just the small things that will have no impact on the game, but at the same time, it's like make anything more difficult on them than you can. I do appreciate that. We kind of let it, kind of hinted at this when we recorded earlier in the week on the long version of the pod here. I think it's going to be kind of ugly. I could see either team winning, and I'm just wasn't confident enough picking one side or the other because it literally is that close. Which I think Texas is the more, I guess, talented team if you want to say that by what they've done this season. But you go on Georgia's roster, and it's like, well, I mean, guy for guy, it's hard to pick anybody to beat them at the same time. So that's why I'm going to go with the total. And I think it might be like a little bit ugly. I honestly don't even think it's going to be like a defensive battle. I think there may be a bit more mistakes than either team has had this season, just because, it's all on the line here. This is especially for Georgia, but even Texas, the loss here, there's probably still going to stick in it. I would think in the playoff, but this is the wrong time to lose if there is one, even with the way the playoff is these days. You do not want to lose this week. So there's a lot of pressure there. So I think it could be a little bit ugly. So I'm going to go ahead and go unders on that total, 49.5. Like I said, either team could win. I guess if you had to pick one, I like your Texas lean, but I do not feel confident enough. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with that number.
All right, Sal, what do you think here?
I think Georgia will win. Their Carson Beck and their passing game is really good, and I don't think Texans DBs can. I think it'll be a really close game, but I think Georgia will pull it off.
All right, so you're getting Georgia there. Well, they're getting 2.5, so that helps you a little bit too. So nothing wrong with that, and I like it. We're mixing it up here. We're shaking it up. Of course, it would pull the not so fast, my friend.
I'm looking for we got any headwear around here. Maybe he's gonna pull something out here at the end. I don't know. Maybe a big Donald Duck head or something. I don't know. We got some costumes coming out the wazoo around here.
So yeah, we're moving to a game involving the Ducks here, and the last one that we have not talked about yet. That would be the other large conference in the Big Ten. And we've got a battle here that we thought was going to be two teams that started with the letter O. Not so much anymore. Penn State gets into the fold because of Ohio State's stumble last week. So Oregon will take them on. We already knew Oregon was going to be in the title game before the last week, and they came out and still played very well against Washington. So this will be a fun game. I'm going to go with a winner here just because, again, for the same reason, I guess. I think this is the most consistent team in the conference. Not that big of a number, really. I actually shocked when I pulled it up and thought that's that low. I don't think this Penn State team is going to be able to keep pace with them. Granted, Oregon maybe has had a couple of kind of ugly games, but when they want to turn it on, they can. And I think they're going to turn it on, and they're probably going to lay a hurting here on Penn State. I think they win big.
Exactly my thoughts. The ugly games have kind of been when you didn't expect them to happen, but when the lights have been on and the spotlights on them, and no matter what goofy outfit they got on that week, they come to play when it matters. You look at that Ohio State game, even last week when people were maybe saying, not necessarily picking them to lose, but there's a little doubt there heading into the postseason. They kind of put a whooping on one of their old rivals in Washington. So I like that. I was with you. I might bump that up a little bit here, to maybe a 7 or, a 10 spot even. I don't think it's going to be very close. Penn State just hasn't shown anything. You look at them themselves. They had a dogfight with Minnesota, not recently. And just when even in the games that have been close with, the better teams, you look at like that USC game or something, they didn't really, I guess it didn't wow me when you consider what USC became in the end game. So I'll take the 3.5, just like you. And like I said, bump it up if you want to get close to getting some plus money on that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people hitting that number and might even give you a little bit more value there.
All right, Sal, how are we closing it out here?
Yeah, I think Penn State will win, especially against Ohio State. They did pull up against that good team, and I think if Penn State can just stop Oregon's passing game and then still driving down the field, I think they can break away.
Bold move.
Yeah, that's a Corso special. That's an upset pick right there. There we go.
Yeah, that's the throw the one head to the side and put the other one on type
that's
of
the
move.
class, my friend. Say that. Yeah, no, just kidding.
Sal, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that's our guest picker there, Salvatore, joining us here on the end of the show. Obviously, we hope everybody enjoys this championship weekend. We got to savor these moments while we got them left here. It'll be a fun weekend of a lot of hopefully really good football. That's the idea when we get to championship games. Should be good teams against each other and should be a lot of fun to watch. And then obviously we'll see how it all shakes out and who ends up in this new 12-team college football playoff. Of course, have some fun, get your friends together, have a few beverages, eat some game day food. Nothing better than championship time when it comes to college football season.
Well, and I know last year we did, as much as we could, but we'll pick as many bowl games as we can, try and get some winners. I know they land on different days, so it might not be an audio or video version, but check, keep up with the Twitter and all that stuff. And we'll get the picks out for you so you guys can try to, get some of that holiday money, earn back some of that shopping that's been going on. Like, we don't like to spend it. We want to try to make it. So let's go ahead and do that.
Exactly. We're trying to go the other direction here. So yeah, on Twitter, you see the handles there at SJM Bets, at Cherokee CP. Love to hear from you on what your thoughts on Pixar or anything else, and interact with us. Of course, you can also interact by interacting where the shows are located. So right here on this YouTube channel, we'd love it if you like, subscribe, and get the notifications here so you can see those picks when we do bring them to you here throughout bowl season, obviously, and then throughout the rest of the year. And then also, of course, like and share the podcast, available in all the major podcast platforms. Our main host is at Spotify, but we've got it right here on YouTube. It's on Amazon. It's on Apple, anywhere you want to look, you're going to find it. So just search us up and be able to listen, and then share with your friends if they love college football and love sports gambling as well. All right. That's Salvatore. That's SJ. I'm Chris. Thanks for joining us for another week of Every Day We're Covering. We'll see you next time for some more covers.
Peace out.